Nam Tri Yugam Agyaya Vibhudashavam Vikta Upasangamya Pranamya Samabhasata. Yeah. Saha, the sage Kardama, Cha, and Avatirnam, descended, Tri Yugam, Vishnu, Agyaya, having understood, Vibudha, Rishabham, the chief of the demigods, Vivikte, in a secluded place, Upasangamya, having approached, Pranamya, offering obeisances, Samabhasata, he spoke. Translation: when Kadama Muni understood that the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the chief of all the demigods, Vishnu, had descended, Kadama approached him in a secluded place, offered obeisances, and spoke as follows. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Lord Vishnu is called Tri Yuga. He appears in 3 yugas, Satya, Treta, and Dwapara. But in Kali Yuga he does not appear. From the prayer of Prahlad Maharaj, however, we understand that he appears garbed as a devotee in Kali Yuga. Lord Chaitanya is that devotee. Krishna appeared in the form of a devotee, but although he never disclosed himself, Rupa Goswami could understand his identity. For the Lord cannot hide himself from a pure devotee. Rupa Goswami detected him when he offered his first obeisance to Lord Chaitanya. He knew that Lord Chaitanya was Krishna himself, and therefore offered his obeisance with following words. I offer my respect to Krishna, who now appeared as Lord Chaitanya. Namo Maharanayaya Krishna Prem Padayati Krishna Krishna Chaitanya Namne Godachishrama. That's a verse right there. This is also confirmed in the prayer to Prahlad Maharaj in Kali Yuga. He does not appear directly, but he appears as a devotee. Vishnu, therefore, is known as Tri Yuga. Another explanation of Tri Yuga is that he has 3 pairs of divine attributes, namely power and affluence, piety and renown, and wisdom and dispassion. According to Srila Swami, his 3 pairs of opulence are complete riches and of complete strength, complete fame, complete beauty, complete wisdom, and complete renunciation. There are different interpretations of Tri Yuga, but it is accepted by all learned scholars that Tri Yuga means Vishnu. When Kadama understood that his son Kapila was Vishnu himself, he wanted to offer his obeisance. Therefore, when Kapila was alone, he offered his respect and expressed his mind as follows. So, Om Agyantimidanda Zyaganandana Shalakaya Chakshu Unmitam Yena Tasmai Siguramimam Sititanya Manovishtam Stapitamina Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandyam Siguru Siuta Parakamalam Sigurun Vaishnavam Sa Sirupam Sugajatan Sahagana Ragunatan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sarvetam Savaduta Pajana Saitam Krishna Chaitana Devam Siddhartha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shivirakam Vitam Sa Hey Krishna Kauna Sindhu Dina Bandho Jagatpate Gopisha Gopi Kanta Radha Kanta Namosute Tatta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishabhanusri Devi Pranamami Haripre Vansha Kalpataruvya Kripa Sindhaveva Cha Pratitana Pavanebhyo Vaishnavi Namo Namaha. Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Sri Vasudhi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama. Hare Krishna. So, let me go to the text. What is that verse?
26.
29?
26.
26. Okay, got it. So yes, Sri Yuga, he appears in 3 yugas. And, but there is a confidential story, namely, that Lord Chaitanya is Krishna himself in Kali Yuga, and particularly in the 28th day of Brahma. We are in the 28th day of Brahma. This form of Lord Chaitanya is Krishna himself. In other yugas, he also appears, in other Kali yugas, he also appears, but he is not Krishna himself. It is Shaktivesh avatar who introduces the chanting of the holy name of Krishna. But this is why we are in a very special yuga here, that it is actually the Supreme Personality of Godhead who descends. It's a very, very special 28th day of Brahma. I mean, Brahma lives 360 days times 100. That's an enormous, what is it? 360 days times 100? Isn't it? That's 100 years of Brahma. That's an enormous amount of time. You know, he appears. Lakhs and lakhs and crores of days he appears. So in the 28th day of Brahma, he appears as Lord Chaitanya. And that is a very special age. And so, therefore, we can understand that this age is actually very special, and we see that in this age, under Krishna's guidance, the Hare Krishna mantra has gone all over the world by a pure devotee, Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada was so pure that one time Rancho and myself, we are in contact with each other. He lives in Glastonbury, and he chants a lot. And he was with Prabhupada a lot in the beginning when Prabhupada came to London. And so one time Prabhupada was standing in front of London Ishvara. These were the first Radha Krishna deities of size that he installed. He had small ones. He would travel with small ones. He came to Germany with small ones. But London Ishvara were special. And they were acquired in a very special way also. There was one Indian life member, and Prabhupada heard that he had big Radha Krishna deities, but they were not installed. And so Prabhupada went there with Shyama Sundar and a bunch of devotees. He used to go and visit. I was on one of his visits also to Kshirodakashaya Prabhu, who later became a sannyasi. And in London, maybe just jump in the car with Prabhupada, two cars, and in the evening you ride out. And so, in this case, he asked him, I heard you have some Radha Krishna deities. He said, yes. So why are they not installed? He said, well, I'm not 100% sure. So Prabhupada preached to him, and though he said, all right, let's go, and then he said to Shyamasundar and the others, just grab the deities and walk outside. But she said, walk outside. So they just took the deities, and the life member was kind of irritated, you know. Prabhupada, he took the deities, and they became London Ishvara. Sometimes Prabhupada, he did amazing things like this. I mean, he knew about our devotees. We were like sabaras, like, how do you say, forest dwellers, practically speaking, in the forest of material existence. Prabhupada spread the Hare Krishna movement with bears and monkeys, just like myself. Not from India or from elevated background, Brahminical background or something. We are like bears, and monkeys. Bandar. And so, like Ram, he went to Lanka with the help of these monkeys and bears. But he wanted this movement to be established, and he could understand for that I have to go to the West, because India is looking to the West. And when they see that young Western people come to India, what to speak of having Ratha Yatra in front of Nelson Column on Piccadilly Circus? I mean, that's the ultimate insult to the British Empire. The ultimate insult. That's the sanctum sanctulorum, how do you say, the sacred space, Nelson Column right there on Trafalgar Square to install, to show Lord Jagannath, that the British called them, I cannot even repeat, but they called him the Juggernaut, the Moloch, they said, the Moloch, the monster. And in fact, nowadays even articulated trucks, you know what an articulated truck is? A truck is just the engine in the front, and then it hooks in just a trailer. It's called articulated. They're called juggernauts because of Jagannath, because they're such huge cars, the juggernauts, they're called. So Prabhupada described these deities. The Indian men didn't know what to say. And Prabhupada said, that's all right, Hare Krishna. He was deeply blessed by Prabhupada. Although it may have been initially a little painful, but Prabhupada forced his blessings upon this man. And then they installed these deities, and Prabhupada stood after installation. No, later, Prabhupada came to London, and he saw these deities. And he stood after the greeting for some time in front of the deity. And Rancho asked him two things. He said, Srila Prabhupada, are these your favorite deities? And Prabhupada said, that would be sense gratification. Think about that. I mean, we think if somebody eats a piece of chocolate, that's sense gratification. What to speak of other vices that are not considered to be vices. If you explain to somebody that eating chocolate is not in harmony with religious principles, they think you are mad in the material world. They think you should see a doctor. So Prabhupada, so subtle, even considered one deity to be his supreme deity. He considered sense gratification. Just he's so subtle in even that. Any kind of preference, Krishna in any form he would accept. In any form, So we have so many deities in this world. So Prabhupada, every deity he considered God himself. And see, sometimes tears would come down his cheeks when he would see deities. And he had a very special relationship with deities. He came to one temple in America. I don't know which temple it was. And he went upstairs after greeting, he went into his room after lecture, and he called the pujari. And he said, the deities are not very satisfied with your service. You see, you must be doing something wrong. What is it? And so the pujari admitted that I'm not very punctually, and sometimes the prasadam, the sweet rice has salt in it instead of sugar. We had this, which is the ultimate. Can you imagine, somebody brings me a bowl of porridge, which is kind of one of my favorite sweets, and I eat it with great dig into it. I'm waiting for this porridge to come out of the kitchen hot. And I dig into this porridge and saw it. You know, so the Pujari admitted to Prabhupada. He confessed. And Prabhupada said, don't do that. Srila Prabhupada, how do you know that? He said, deities told me. You see, Prabhupada had a very close relationship with the deities. We have a Pujari in Ireland, Mother Mantra. In Western countries, Prabhupada allowed women to worship. And she's very special. When I told her to do deity worship, she had a little daughter, 4 years old. And on the first day, after she was finished doing deity worship, on the next day, we were eating breakfast on our veranda of this island. And all of a sudden I said, where is this girl? Where's Margaret, I think was her name. Where is she? Yeah, all of a sudden I got the hunch. I said, there's something going on here. And I divided immediately the group of devotees into 3 keys. We have 3 keys, right? Key, where the boat lands. And I went to one key, and when I came to the key, the daughter was already swimming on the water. She had just died. She was dead, she drowned, you know. And this woman, she followed me, my mantra. And when she saw that, she cried, and she said, no, it was too late, she was dead, she was drifting on the water. And she just sat down and cried, you know, like a bird, you know. And I took her daughter, fished her out of the water and had her on my lap. You know, I cried there also, and the devotees cried. And I put this dead body of her daughter into her lap. And she cried and said, Mother. He said, this is Krishna is coming to you. He wants you to make Radha Govinda your children. And she looked up and said, yes. So this is actually the reason why it happened. Because she had this prayer that she wanted to dedicate her life. And when I said this to her, it struck her, you know, that Krishna fulfilled her prayer in a very strong way. He came to her when the Lord comes in distress, and we should be able to identify this distress as Krishna, you know, and then we are able to tolerate that Krishna is coming in this form. And so she stayed dedicated to these deities for the last 35 years. Sometimes she's alone. She's an amazing lady, you know, Irish lady, such determination to serve Krishna. And at one stage, one devotee said there may be a plan to sell the island. And she said, then I will go into she told me, she said, I will go into the water. I will go into the water. That means I will kill myself. I will not be able to bear that, because this is the home of the deities. We're taking the home away, you know. So, and she has many experiences, but she doesn't talk about it. I asked her many times, and she doesn't want to talk about it. She does agree that she has very special experiences, because there is a verse in Bhagavatam, that which is confidential, is powerful as long as kept a secret. As long as kept a secret. If you have a personal experience with Krishna and you go in the mind, I saw Krishna yesterday, he came to me, the effect is gone. That was the end of your special darshan with Krishna. He will not come again, because he knows you will use it to beef up your own reputation. Right? You're puffed up. And so she doesn't talk about it. She's very special in that sense. And so Prabhupada, he expressed himself that even a preference to a deity he considered self-realization and the sense gratification. And the other thing, Rancho asked him, what are you praying for, Srila Prabhupada? And he said that I pray to Krishna that I will not fall down. Now, how does that work? I mean, Prabhupada is a self-realized soul, you know. And then he said, you're not afraid of Maya. He said, I'm afraid of Maya. Maya can come at any time and take whatever you have knowledge, devotion away for one moment, and you fall into Maya. Unless you are very strong, like Haridas Thakur. The prostitute came to him, danced in front of him, and he was not bewildered. That's a very strong. He went into the cave. He knew there was a snake huge snake living in the cave. He went inside and sat down and chanted. And after 5 minutes, the snake left. She was living there for ages. She left. So unless we are in that category, we should be afraid of Maya and therefore pray to Krishna every day, please free me from Maya. Don't let me fall into Maya, because Maya is too powerful. It's Krishna's energy. It's an expansion of Mahamaya in the spiritual world. And so the problem is, why we behaving in a mundane way a good bit of our time is because we're not afraid of Maya. You think, yes, I'm a devotee, 50 years. So this is dangerous, very, very dangerous. Maya can come and just take all your castles away. Just like you build a house in sand, in the beach, and the tide comes, and takes all these castles away. So whatever castles we have in our mind about ourselves, whatever God project we have, in the material world everybody has a God project. Mr. Ambani, he has a God project. He's so rich, he wants to be richer. As rich as Krishna, imitating the opulence. But when the tide rushes in, Mr. Ambani, he will take all your riches away. And nobody can guarantee where you will be next. When I drive to Delhi in a taxi, you see these people knocking at the window, Saab, Saab, Saab. So I open, and they say, rupee, 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 He may be one of them, from the top to the bottom. If you do not use your money, think about the future of a rich man, unless he uses money for Krishna. Jesus himself, there was a man who was very wealthy, came to Jesus. You don't mind me if I talk about that, right? The pious stories. He came to Jesus and said, Lord, what must I do? He said, sell all your riches. Get rid of all your riches, and turn to me, to spiritual life. He couldn't do it. And then he came next day and admitted that, Master, I cannot do that. And he said to him, no rich man can go to heaven. That was the answer. No rich man can go to heaven. You cannot. Riches may mean many things, riches means whatever you have to engage in Krishna's service. The great example is Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Manasa, my mind, Manasa, Deho, my body, Geho, Yokichumor, whatever I have, Arpinon tua pade, I offer to your feet, Nanda Kishore. That's a perfect example. Whether you're a sannyasi, whether you're a householder, whether you're brahmacharya, whether you're grihastha, it doesn't make a difference. Nirmama means nothing is mine. First world people learn when they come to this material world is mama, mine. First world. And even kindergarten, already in the kindergarten, you can see, kindergarten, toddlers, they fight. This is my toy. No, it is my toy. No, it's mine. It is mine. And they start fighting, like little animals already. And it's my aham kara, I'm doing. Aham. What is this word? Me first? The Sanskrit. Aham purva. Aham purva, me first. That is the principle of the material. Me first. But as it, again, sorry, quoting the Bible, those who want to be the first will be the last. You know? And the humble will inherit the kingdom of God. Those who are humble, they will inherit God's kingdom. You know, it's very pungent. I mean, only a devotee can speak like that. You know, very pungent, very strong. You know, in every situation, very strong sentence. And so, I would like to talk to Mr. Ambani and tell him, you get rid of this, you know, or at least immediately start dedicating large amounts of your funds to particularly ISKCON. Because there are many temples, but we are preaching. We are preaching Krishna consciousness all over the world. That's why ISKCON is most qualified to accept donations, because they're preaching. You know, Yadidikataka Krishna Upadesh. That is the most important instruction. Prabhupada asked us, we German devotees came to England, and he said, what is the most important verse? And I couldn't help but lift my finger and said, Yadidikataka Krishna Upadesh. Wherever you go, preach. And Prabhupada said, that is a fact. You know, that is a fact. He told me personally. And then he put me into trouble. Then he said, what does that mean, Krishna Upadesh? I didn't know. I was too puzzled. It means Krishna. I said, Desh, Prabhupada, means place. Radha Desh, for example, place, Radha Desh. And there are many other places in India which have a Desh at the end. Bangladesh, there you have it. Or Stan, you know. Prabhupada said, Deutschland comes from Daitya Stan, the place where the demons live. Where the demons live. And he said, in Bhagavatam, he said everything east of Daitya Stan, people are Daityas. And it's a fact, you know, if you look at German, half the Germans, they're not Daityas, they're Hunas, they're Huns. Hunas, the Russian people are Hunas. It's a complete different race. And there's devotion there. The Hunas, devotion. They're also a tribe, but they're not Daityas, demons. So how did I get there? Huh? Upadesh. So Upadesh, you know, he said, no, Upadesh is the supreme instruction of Krishna. Upadesh. Upadesham Rita, the nectar of the supreme instruction. And then again, there were 30, 40 people in the room, and he singled me out. And he said, and what does it mean? What is the supreme instruction of Krishna? I said, Prabhupada, frankly, I'm confused now. He said, Sarva Dhamman Prinjaja. You know, surrender unto me. That's Krishna. But Lord Chaitanya's method is even more, how do you say, merciful. He doesn't ask for surrender, he just asks us to chant. You know, he doesn't ask us to, he said, just chant Hare Krishna. Bolo Hare Krishna. And then from there, everything follows. You know, he's more merciful than Krishna himself. So Lord comes in different ages, and as Tri Yuga, he comes also in what are they? Three gunas, and there's the guna avatars. 3 guna avatars, Vishnu, Shiva, and Brahma. And many people worship these 3 guna avatars. Like I went to this place, Bali. And Bali, the aristocratic class of Bali are Hindus. But the commoners, they're also Hindus, but they worship all kinds of ghosts and spirits. It's called animism. The whole southern Atlantic, what's it called? Pacific area, Tahiti, all these places, they are animists. They worship ghosts, spirits, birds, mountains, etc. But So at the bottom of the society in Bali, people still worship. And every house has in its garden something like 3, 4 little altars, 5 little altars, and they bring in the morning a pigeon here, and a dead mouse there, and some cockroach there, whatever it is to appease these gods. Animism. Animism is, even in India, or in Nepal, it is animism. People worship the mountain spirits and that, and having these ghost dances, demon dances, you can see with a mask. And there's a very thin veneer of Buddhism on top. Because 2 Brahmins from Calcutta came in the 7th century and they imposed on animism Buddhism. It's the same in Thailand, that the Hinduism is on top, and therefore they don't worship the cows, the common people. They eat the cow. They don't milk the cow, they eat the cow. It's small. Because the Hinduism is skin deep, right? It's skin deep. So, and there they worship the Trimurti, the Brahma. There's one temple on a mountain. There's a volcano, enormous volcano. Forgot the name. Sometimes it breaks out, thousands of people get killed. And so one day it broke out, and the lava came down towards this temple, where people are worshipped. Even if you go as a foreigner, you get a gamsha, there are gamshas on some to dress properly, and you have to have a headdress. They give you a headdress. They don't allow you to go in pants to see these deities. They're very strict. Everybody has to cover his legs. They give every man or women, and Western tourists, Germans, it's very funny, big beer belly, and underneath they have this, what do you call this? Jamja. Huh? Lungi. They have this lungi, right? Underneath the beer belly, and they have this headdress, And so the lava came down. There was an enormous outbreak towards the temple, And just about 50 yards before, maybe 100 yards, all of a sudden, it saved the temple. Everything else was destroyed. It came even behind the temple. But it didn't kill the temple when the 3 deities were worshipped for hundreds and hundreds of years. So Krishna can do anything. So in any case, let's go back to the verse. When Kadama Muni understood that the Supreme Lord, the chief of all demigods, Vishnu, had descended, so we know that there are many incarnations, forms of Krishna. Actually, if you take it strictly, the word incarnation from the Latin, carne means flesh. And the incarnation is somebody, a spiritual being takes a material body, flesh. You see, just like Christians, they say the Word has become flesh. Jesus is in that sense an incarnation. And so I'm also an incarnation. Because we are spirits, pure spirits, we take a material body, therefore we are actually an incarnation. Everybody is an incarnation of God. But you see, in our Dharma, Vaishnava Dharma, Vedic culture, there are no incarnations, there are only avatars. Avatars. When God descends, he has not a material body. He's not an incarnation in that sense. So we discussed this many times, but Prabhupada, Bhaktisiddhanta, it has been used in our line due to the influence of the British. And people didn't know Latin. From a Latin point of view, it's better to say an avatar. And I asked Advaita Swami, he said, since you're so expert in changing Prabhupada's books, I said to him, why don't you change that? He said, it's all over Prabhupada's books, incarnation, So we understand when Prabhupada means incarnation, he means avatar. actually. It means avatar. It doesn't mean incarnation in the Latin sense, in the etymology, in the original meaning of the word. It's important to understand that, because sometimes people misunderstand it. Well, he has a body, material body. Incarnation means that, So if somebody comes up to you, you can say, well, there's another story to it, We understand very well that carne means flesh. We are not a soul that took flesh, and me and you and maybe Jesus of Nazareth, but these are avatars. And there are so many, like rivulets, like little rivulets coming from a mountain. There are so many from even one and the same source. There's one source and one source. And it divides itself into so many different rivers. Like the Ganga, when I went to Chitakut, there's one Ganga there. But it's a side branch of the Ganga. Sita took baths there. You can take baths exactly at that point. So rivers, what is that verse in Sanskrit? There's so many rivers. Krishna's tu Bhagavan Swayam. Ete Chamsha. That's the one. Can you speak loud? Ete Chamsha.
Ete chamsha kala pumsa.
Kala.
Pumsaha.
Usa.
Pumsaha.
Muksaha.
Pumsaha.
Pumsaha.
Ete cha amsha.
Amsha.
Kala pumsaha.
Pumsaha.
Krishna's
tu Bhagavan Swavam. That's why Krishna is called the Supreme Personality of Godhead. There are many personalities of Godhead. I mean, people are surprised when there's a Supreme Personality of Godhead. I didn't understand that when I read this initially. It took me some time to pick that up, that there are many personalities of Godhead. There's Vishnu, there's Rama, there's Nishinga, you make a list. There are 10 avatars already. It doesn't say 10 incarnations, there are 10 dasa avatars, you see, 10 avatars. And then of all these different forms of Krishna, personalities of Godhead, Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That's why Prabhupada pointed this out. Because people have many gods. They worship this. And what are these people called in South India? They walk in black. Ayyappa? What is their god? Ayyappa. You see, and who's that? Kartikeya, I think. I heard it's Kartikeya, right? So that's another form of Krishna. But it's not the Supreme Personality of God. The Supreme Personality of God is right there, Lord Chaitanya. He is actually, in this age, Krishna himself. He comes, very special. And if you bring people to the ISKCON altar, Indian people are puzzled as, who's all this? Who's all this? I said, it is the same Rama, it is the same Krishna. That's why we in our temples in the West, many times, at least every temple I was responsible for, I would put a big picture on the wall of Satpuja. And we would bring them over. You see, these are the arms of Lord Chaitanya. The holding Kamandalu and Sannyas rod. And there the hands of Krishna playing the flute, blue hands. And then there's the green hands of Lord Ramachandra holding, so that they understand this is in this particular age, there's Rama and Lakshman on the altar. And this is Krishna and Balaram in again another age. And this age you can explain to your parents if they're Hindus, It's the same Ram, the same Lakshman, the same Krishna, the same Balaram have appeared again as Gonitai. And it makes sense to them, then all of a sudden, okay, I understood it, So that's so many incarnations. And Lord Chaitanya, he even comes in different Kali Yugas. There's always a Lord Chaitanya who inaugurates the Sankirtan movement. But in this age, this Lord Chaitanya is not an avatar. It is Krishna himself, very special. And so naturally to be born in this age, this Kali Yuga, very special. What to speak of being born in India, very special. What to speak of being born in a nice family, in a Krishna conscious family, Brahmin family even, very special. What to speak of being born in a devotee family, very special, very, very, very special. What to speak of sitting in a temple, in the high Krishna temple, and there is no Durga on the altar, or Ganesh is not on the altar, or Shiva is on the altar. There is Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. How special that is. And then becoming initiated into this line, very special. And then being able to chant Hare Krishna mantra. It's the most wonderful thing, the most powerful thing, the most important anga, as Lord Chaitanya explains, is a chanting, and being able to go on Harinam, to sing Krishna's name. Never mind what people think. That's not important what people think. We are not here to please the public. We are here, Prabhupada said that, to please Krishna. That's all. And I read to you previously, and I want to read it out again, because this is something very intriguing. That Prabhupada said. I would like to send this to you. If you have to give me your WhatsApp, then I can send you verses like this. You just find it. Srila Prabhupada. There. As they walked under a steel bridge, this is in Boston, Prabhupada pointed upward with his walking stick, cane. He said, look, a sign under the bridge reads unalloyed steel. That means pure steel. Pure steel. They have unalloyed steel, and we have unalloyed devotion service. Then Pradyumna asked, the translator, Prabhupada, he asked, what if people don't want to hear our message? And that's a fact. That's a fact. I mean, even India, most people, they don't hear it. When we go by, in Hainam, Germany, people go like this. Many. They don't want to hear it. What to speak if you tell them that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The church doesn't want to hear that. Prabhupada said, doesn't matter. Here it comes. Oops. The people might not understand our message, but Krishna will be pleased. That is the actual issue. That's the issue. It's not anything else. The issue is to please Krishna. And that is our mission, Prabhupada says. So the people might not understand our message, but it doesn't matter. But Krishna will be pleased, Prabhupada replied. And that is our mission. Because purity is a force. If we want to spread Krishna consciousness, the first point of the strategic planning list is purity is a force. Therefore, Prabhupada's strategic planning has 4 points. Books are the basics, utility is the principle, purity is the force, and preaching is the essence. This is Prabhupada's strategic planning. These are very important points. Whenever that is there, the movement is spreading. That's my experience. My experience, when people become affected. I mean, we distributed I remember the Jai Theatre came to Germany, and what was it, Sweden. They had not distributed one Bhagavad Gita. They had the whole storeroom full of Bhagavad Gitas. And so he asked me to go up there. And I was distributing Bhagavad Gita like we were distributing Bhagavad Gitas in Germany. So my quota was 50 Bhagavad Gitas a day. And I would definitely do that. 50 do every day, 50 Gitas a day. Definitely keeps Maya away. No doubt about it, you know. So he asked me to go up there. So I went up there and I had a meeting with these guys, and it was snow, this high, you know. So they had to have special boots there. And I said, man, come on, 50 gitas a day, you can do it. And so after initial hesitation, in the end, the whole book distribution party of Sweden went up to this level of 50 gitas a day in the middle of the snow. And people took it. They took these books. These are very powerful books. How did we distribute? You know, one trick was, in the morning when we were chanting, the Bhagavad Gita was right here. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare. Asking Krishna, please let me distribute these 50 Gitas. You know? Krishna, Krishna, Hare. Everybody had, I told them, this is number one trick. Put this here, pray to Krishna, help me. And then Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. They all went up to 50. In no time, they were young devotees. And for a good while. You know, so we distributed, just to give you an idea, about 1.5 tons of books, 2 people. Ton. That's 20 centers, centner. How much is a ton?
1,000
Huh? 1,000 kilos. So 1,500 kilos, 2 people would distribute. We measured like that, you know. Fill up the Sankirtan, went up to the top. I mean, to give you an idea, since we added, we had 22 Sankirtan vans. 22. And we would come in the weekend, we would all gather. You know, we come from all over the country. We divided Germany like a cake. This is my zone, everybody had a zone. And we would spread out from this one main center, you know, into the areas, and on Saturday afternoon we were back, late in the afternoon. Enormous kirtan, enormous, you have no idea of a kirtan. Dancing, we were floating, you know. Then enormous prasadam, you know. And then we went to bed, and the next morning again, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Rama, Rama Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna Hare Rama, Rama Rama Rama. So our whole mind was focused on this, you know. Then we would pack our vans, right? Everything was ready. Then enormous kirtan, and then prasadam. And after that, if you would go down, this place was on a mountain, you go down the mountain, you wait. Every 10 seconds, another Sankirtan van, another Sankirtan van, another one. In the afternoon, you know, it was like an army. It was fun, you know. And so we would drive into the cities and just park there in a parking lot or somewhere where we could and then read 2 hours every day. 2 hours reading from 7 to 9. From 9, go to bed, 3 o'clock, that's it, get up. And take a shower, sometimes ice cold, you know, in winter, ice cold. Sometimes we had to go on a cemetery, you know, cemetery, where dead bodies lie. Christian people have cemeteries, Muslims also. We know the pumps are always working. So we go there and take a shower early in the morning, you know, cold shower in winter. And I remember one time we went and all of a sudden there would light go on, you know, how do you say, spotlights. From 4 directions, the cops had come. And they set up these spotlights, you know, and they screamed, "Hand hoch!" Hands up, you know. So we lifted all our hands. We were in a Brahmin underwear or something, you know. They said, "Oh my God, the Hare Krishnas." Then they drove away. So we distributed enormous amounts of books at that time. You know, Prabhupada was so pleased. He wrote us a letter, particular letter, we were at the top at that time of the world. And he said, if you really, you should know, if you really want to please me, distribute these books. If you really want to please me. And so we did. And so particularly if you were a leader at that time, Prabhupada knew that if you were leading the devotees into this, and you had a thumbs up. You know thumbs up? They have thumbs up in India, isn't it? Thumbs up. And Prabhupada always could recognize his book distributors, you know, the people who were really into it. And anyway, so we were distributing like mad, these books. And Prabhupada was so pleased, you know, because the message went everywhere. And so it doesn't matter what people think about it, you know. People might not understand our message, but Krishna will be pleased. Just sell him a book, because that's the only thing you can do for him. What is he going to do with his money? He's going to spend it for cigarettes and for all kinds of things. Here he gives, first time in his life, he gives something to Krishna. First time. And he will be disappointed when he opens the books. It's not about sex, drugs, or wrong road. You find out. He puts it in a shelf. He will not throw it away because he paid for it. And then his son will see it. You know, his son will see it, and he pulls it out. He said, "What is that?" And his whole life may change. These books have their own intelligence. They know exactly where to go. So some people, after 40 years, they start pulling a book out when they're really in depression. They read a book, and all of a sudden, the whole thing becomes so clear to them. Happened to my son, my younger son. You know, when he was young, he was really kind of getting off the wire, off the rail, you know. And he became very depressed. Krishna made it like this. And so in his depression, you know, we couldn't get through to him. If somebody is in a hole, you can't, it's not a matter, get out, come on, be happy. You're not the body, the spirit, soul. Shape up. Forget all this. You can't. He's sitting there. And so then he saw there were the books, Prabhupada, he picked it up, he read it. All of a sudden, it's like Prabhupada come. It's like this, you know, Prabhupada, go down, otherwise I can't see you. Down. It's like this, that Prabhupada comes. Right? This is what we do actually when we preach, you know. It's okay. Right? I have done it hundreds of times. So, they saw Jesus Christ's mission was stopped. They killed him, but his mission was attained. He preached 3 years only, but so many followers. Why? He pleased Krishna. That's what Prabhupada said. I like it very much. Then, we must not be disappointed that no one is hearing Krishna consciousness. Don't be disappointed. We will say to the moon, we will say to the stars, we say it in all directions. We will cry in the wilderness because Krishna is everywhere. Now, we want to have a certificate from Krishna that this man has done something for me, something substantial. You know, people pass their life, they don't do anything for Krishna. But so we want to do something substantial. Every one of you, you can do something substantial for Krishna. No doubt about it. Think about that. Something substantial. You want to have a certificate from Krishna that this man has done something. Not popularity. We don't care that people think, oh, we are great, we are wonderful. We don't care. We don't tally to the public taste. Sometimes our devotees, particularly in Western countries, they try to be fashionable. You know, Harinam parties, waving fans and trara. And I saw one group that was the most amazing. Women in the front, and they had all these fans. And then the brahmacharis, they had balloons in their hands. I mean, can you imagine this in front of Prabhupada? We just say, well, are you out of your mind? Are you out of your mind? Balloons, you know. We don't need that. If the kirtan is good, it will affect people on a very... We want the people who are affected by the kirtan, who actually... It strikes a chord in their heart because they have some sattvic nature, they have some sukriti. These are the people we want to become devotees. Not every Tom, Dick, and Harry. Prabhupada told us again and again we should cook down the milk. Right? We want to have people who, by touching the book, they realize there's something happening. They're reading the books. My little boy, he started reading and it completely changed his mind. And that's all he does nowadays. He reads and he chants, and does Harinam, and completely changed his life. They're very powerful. This is Krishna. It is Krishna Prabhupada's Vani, that he left for us. But it's also the Vapu, because actually he is in this book, believe me. That's why it's so important to value this book. This is the most important gift Prabhupada gave us. He's inside. And the favorite example is, of course, Chandramani Maharaj. I told this to you, remember that? Chandramani Maharaj? He was reading Bhagavad Gita, Krishna book. And all of a sudden, Prabhupada's voice came in. And Prabhupada read to him. It was like listening to a tape recorder. So Prabhupada is here. And so Prabhupada said, not popularity, the pack of asses says you're very good. What is that? And this is not Prabhupada's idea, pack of asses, svavit vara, hosra kara. That verse, men were like hogs, dogs, camels, and asses. It's right in the Bhagavatam. They never listen to the glorification of Krishna. So if a pack of asses says, you're very good, what is that? People think, the asses think you're very good. That means you're a big ass, right? Many small asses say somebody is the best ass, but he's the biggest ass, right? That's why they worship him. They worship the biggest ass, right? And so then he said, what is that? If a pack of asses say you're good, what is that? We have to please Krishna's senses with purified senses, and you can read this. It's actually from recorded in Bhakti Sarud's Swarup, in Swarup, Satsvarup, in his Lilamrita, new edition, 98. So this is something you have to have in your collection. You have to, things like that you need to read regularly, that gives you some juice, some energy, some encouragement, Hare Krishna, we are late. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Go Premananda, Hari Bol.
Hari Hari Bo.